Hello, everyone, and welcome to Menog 21. My name is Hisham Ibrahim, and I have the pleasure of being your moderator for today. I work for the YPNCC as the Chief Community Officer, and as some of you that have been at Menog before, you probably ran into myself or my colleagues, both Shafiq and Sandra, who are on the chats here. That will be supporting you, and we probably have chats before. Last year, I was quoted on Twitter in the opening session saying, welcome to the first and hopefully the last Menog online session. And a year later, I'm proven wrong. And unfortunately, we're still doing these things virtually, but it is important that as the internet community that we stay connected and that we stay informed with what we're doing, which is a big part of why we're organizing this online event. We hope to have captured a bunch of different elements and updates that you would find interesting from the region. We have a nice diverse group from all over the Middle East that will be giving us different perspectives on a bunch of different diverse topics. So without further ado, let me introduce the first panelist for today. As you all are aware, the region here will be hosting the World Cup in 2022 next year in Qatar, and there have been a lot of preparations towards seeing that through. We're happy to have Anwar with us, who is the head of the Network and Security Operations for the FIFA 2022 Supreme Committee, who will be sharing with us some thoughts and some of the things that they're seeing there in Qatar. So welcome, Anwar. Can you unmute yourself and give us some thoughts from your side?
Hi, can you hear me? I think I have muted, yeah. Yes. Thank you for giving me a chance to be part of this great event. I just want to introduce myself as working in Qatar Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, which is the parent organization for organizing the FIFA World Cup event in Qatar. Basically, there are three entities involved in this one from technical perspective. One is FIFA itself. They are the one who is designing the network. And they have another entity which is formed between Qatar government and FIFA. Is called Q22. They are the ones mediator between Supreme Committee, which is representing Qatari government for their event, who is responsible for from technology perspective, venue perspective, everything we have to do it. So coming to the network perspective, as you know, this is the most ever compact World Cup happening. And in all other previous events, all the stadiums were separately connected. Maybe it's like in last event was in Russia. As you know, it was in two different, so many different cities. But here, everything is in Doha. So the strategy what we have adopted is a centralized network, not a distributed network. So all the stadiums for this World Cup, we will have 8 stadiums. And so many other official sites. So we have 2 main data centers or tier 3 data centers that will be hosting all the network related systems which is required for this one. And all the stadia will be connected to this, they call CSL1 and CSL2. And the CSL1 is the main, what you call like CSL is they call the data center is called the central service location, and we have 10 gig, from each stadia we have 40 gig uplink to all the CSLs from the stadia perspective, and from each data center we have 40 gig uplink to the internet. So that's why we are coming into the picture. From the RIPE, we have requested around, there is an event happening now, it's in Arab Cup, it's called, we are using around 2,000 plus public IP addresses, and for the World Cup event, we may require 4,000 IP addresses. So this one, we have to give for each media personals. They may require their own IP addresses to make connection to their cloud, or maybe they wanted to use their legacy equipment. All this will be connected. So basically, it's a perspective, and from each stadia will be connected to each CSLs with 40 gig plus uplink. For Arab Cup, we are using 40 gig. For World Cup, it's a test event for Arab Cup, and we may go up to 80 gig from each stadia. It's a test event for us, and we will decide how much real bandwidth is required. That's for the event network perspective. And we have another network, which is called broadcast network, which is the main money generating like network for FIFA. All the stadium will be connected to International Broadcasting Center (IBC) from 400 gig links, and from this IBC it will be paired to the international connectivity in London and Singapore. So from there they will distribute. That's an holistic view of the event network and broadcast network for FIFA.
Yeah. No, thanks for that update. And I, very long time ago, was part also of a local host that was organizing an event for FIFA. And I know that they have very high requirements, especially when it comes to the media centers and for the photographers, because that one lucky person that takes that goal shot is the one that actually gets the biggest splash, right? So there's a lot of attention towards making sure that people have a great connectivity, which you started talking about, the infrastructure that you're building in the country. And it's really good to hear that Qatar is really building a large mesh of connected networks. There's a question here from Elvis. I think you kind of touched on this yesterday when we were syncing up, but I'll ask this as well, because you spoke about the huge requirement for IPv4. So Elvis is asking, is your network IPv6 only, dual stack, or IPv4 only? And if so, why?
It's IPv6 capable, but most of the equipment that photographers and other people are bringing are legacy equipment that won't support IPv6. So we are pushing IPv6 wherever it's possible, but it may take a while to shift everything to IPv6. So if that's the case, I don't have to request a RIPE for more IP addresses. So I can just use it,
Yeah, we were happy to accommodate further requests.
Thank you.
Due to the nature of the events. Also, another thing, and this is also something that we kind of touched on in the sync as well. While a lot of people are drawn to the actual event itself, the football matches and everything that happens, from the technical side, the geeks like myself that don't play football, what we are interested in these events is the traffic peaks and the expectations of, breaking the records. I see a lot of these graphs from like the European leagues and other matches where people boast about, we've hit a new peak because of this match, and people actually tie these back to these events. Are you expecting to see such peaks?
Well, we are expecting that one is going to be, we are facilitating whatever FIFA is requesting. As I mentioned, the main center, like we have spectator services we are dealing with that spectators. But for the event-related info, like for media, MRLs and other entities, FIFA is providing the network. So basically, we are facilitating and utilizing the FIFA's previous experience to provide whatever is requested bandwidth in terms of bandwidth and IP addresses.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for that. And thanks for your thoughts on this. I think that it's really interesting to see how this is coming forward. And hopefully with this COVID situation that it gets lifted so that we can actually go and attend the matches in person there in Qatar. Let me see, I think there was another question. There was a follow-up from Elvis on the IPv4 bit. So you are using temporary IPv4 assignments requested from the RIPE NCC?
Yes, we are planning to use 2 months allocation.
Yeah, good for that. I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. We're taking some interventions from the different panelists, and then there's a 30-minute Q&A at the end. But Shihab, I see you have your hand up, so please go ahead.
I hope you're fine. I have a question regarding this World Cup, and I want to know that would you please repeat the statistic parts about the traffic and the expectation of the traffic? Because we are getting different, requests from Qatar, companies like GBI or Idu, Vodafone, regarding getting, I don't know, 200 gig, 100 gig protected circuits toward Frankfurt
Yes.
and even toward Moscow. So I want to know that how much is this, capacity is real, and what is the, real expectation and estimation of working.
Yeah, I would say that will be utilized because this for main broadcast, media broadcast. So they have to carry the traffic from IBC from here in Qatar to this the Frankfurt and I think in Moscow, wherever they mentioned. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
Getting
introduction. And there will
okay.
be
Thank you.
Q&A after we go with it to the other panelists. So moving across to actually Shehab. Quebec is actually a large carrier in the region now, and you had some thoughts that you wanted to share on how traffic flows in the Middle East and Caucasus and Central Asia, giving us some insights on how you're seeing things. So please feel free to share your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to speak regarding a few topics, and that is mostly, traffic flow in our region and CIS countries, maybe. And we want to, work on how this flow comes to this way and why it is right now in such a situation. For example, Amazon is choosing Bahrain for building a pub there, or why PUBG traffic of Armenia is going to the nearest pub in Greece, for example. And these are questions which is not, answered yet in the Middle East, and I think there is not, good engineering. So I'm very more than happy to, see more participants in this panel to talk about how this traffic flow will be changed and how we need to, help content providers to change their orientations. And what are the reasons which is not, they are not interested yet to come to, for example, to the CIS countries to have their main pubs there. And they are looking, for example, to Dubai for the next, few years, to Bahrain, to Turkey at most. And they are not thinking about, I don't know, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Russia, even. Why tier one operators are not this much active in these regions. The traffic orientation mostly is going to Sofia, Frankfurt from these countries. This is the topic I'm working on. This to making it. A very mature. Topic for the next meetings, but I want more participants here to discuss, share their ideas to see how we need to change these orientations and maybe help them to enable them in this market.
So there will be room for chat towards the end there, but what you said there reminded me of a talk that we had a few years back in Menog, which was I think it was from Sparkle, and the title of it was "Why is Marseille a single point of failure for the Middle East?" And at the time, it was very clear that all the traffic from the Middle East was going to Europe via Marseille, and I do know that that picture has changed drastically since then, but to your point, we do still see a lot of the circuits and the traffic ending up going in certain flows, and I'd like you to elaborate what you're saying. more than other routes that may be a little bit more direct or diverse in nature. So if we talk about like some of the Arabic countries that you are in, where are you seeing like the main traffic flows going towards? Where are you seeing them being exchanged versus, let's say, you mentioned Turkey or Iran or Caucasus? Can you tell us what kind of trends are you seeing?
Would you tell me that how can I turn on my audio, microphone, and because when I'm turning on the microphone, I'm losing your voices. I need to disable it when I want to hear from your side.
So you didn't hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. So I'm saying, can you share with us some of the perspectives that you're seeing in terms of traffic flow, what you're seeing from the Arab countries versus, let's say, Turkey or Iran or even in the Caucasus? Where do you see the traffic flows going? Where do you see the bigger points of exchange where people are changing the traffics? How are you seeing that to maybe help see the discussion a bit?
Okay, right now, what is very interesting is that Iranian, Iraqi, Afghani, and the countries, around Gulf, not the, Arab ones, the traffic is going more than 80% to Frankfurt, and at most some part in Sofia. So the only part is going to the south, for example, to Uaex. I think Bernd is here and he can help too. Is gaming parts. For example, Iranians going to Uaex to get the PUBG, Fortnite, I don't know, Call of Duty, and these gaming stuffs. Iraqis, 100% they are going to PUBG, to south. So this is the interesting part, which is right now happening, and I'm not seeing any traffic from Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, or even from the other.
Shab, we lost your audio.
We lost your voice.
Can you try again?
Can you tell me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I'm telling that we are not seeing any traffic towards, for example, Moscow. Iraqi traffic all over going to Sofia, Frankfurt, and these countries.
So there is a question here from Elvis, which I think others would be thinking of as well, is in why would they prefer to go towards Russia and Armenia or Turkey if instead of going towards Germany or Netherlands or France or Belgium, for example, if they would have slower or longer routes, or even if their destination is not necessarily for those, if there's no content, for example, for them to consume on that side.
First of all, hi Elvis. Second, my question exactly is the same question, but in another way. I'm telling that why Armenian content, Armenian, network operators, or Armenian traffic engineers, they are not, using the best route for their, traffic. The problem is this, that the whole traffic orientation is toward Europe, and it is not,
So you're saying there's no traffic engineering?
The nearest one.
So you're saying there's no traffic engineering, but more towards the default routes. I see, Atif, you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, I would like to share my experience with. We have the same experience in Bahrain as well. Mostly users play the Call of Duty or all these games, and even Saudi Arabia hosted the one server in the Call of Duty server as well. But the traffic, the algorithm they are using it, they at least require 20 users to be able to play that in that region. If these 20 users are not there, they will not push the traffic to that local area. So the traffic will have to go to the Europe side. This is what I understand from the Call of Duty directly. They tell that if you don't find the 20 users are ready to play in this region, so they prefer to go to the Europe and they play with the Russians and the Americans and the Chinese and Japanese rooms. So they will not. So you will not find the traffic here. Even if you host the server here, you will not get the traffic here. They will keep going there. This is the reason. So first they need to have 20 users interested in this room to play here, then you will get the traffic. Otherwise, not. So even
Hisham, my point is that when there is a huge, amount of traffic toward, for example, PUBG. I wanna continue
yes.
continuing on this
Yes.
example. Suppose that Iran, Iraq, Armenia, Azerbaijan, these four countries and Afghanistan, they have totally 200 gigabit per second PUBG traffic. Okay, when they want to go to Dubai, to Uaex, to get this traffic from Microsoft in data mina, the latency and the availability and everything depends on the C part, and it is more higher than the north part right now.
Actually, see, if you go to the problem is that they are the servers are not located in data mina or in UAE. You get the connectivity in Dubai to the D exchange, but this exchange has to take your traffic towards the Europe. So this is the part. You reach there. I think Bernd can explain more in that one, because these hosted servers are the solution PUBG or other. They are not exactly inside the data mina UAE exchange. So your traffic hit there and then went to the Europe actually. So you feel that once you reach that exchange, the contents are there, the CDNs are not there actually.
Especially regarding the case of the PUBG, I know they have servers
Yes.
hosted in the Dubai, some part in Microsoft, some part in G42 Cloud. They are using a local cloud provider in Abu Dhabi to hosting them in UAE, and so the case is not going, 100% to the transit traffic.
We can hear from Bernd, and then
Bernd, it will be interested to Bernd will explain this.
Bernd, please give us your thoughts.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I think we need to separate network from the real servers and from the content, because when you reach the network on whatever point or traffic engineering, this is one thing, but where are the master servers? Where is the real content? So this is another thing. What you also need to understand is, if you have servers in the region, it does not mean that everybody can reach these servers locally. We have examples, and I will show them later in my presentation. There are still countries to countries which are neighbors, which have a latency of 250 milliseconds in between, which is not beneficial to them. So it means it is far better to use a server in Frankfurt than to use a server in the region. So this region is not as dense interconnected as we know it from Europe or other markets, and all this stacks up to a lot of reasons why things as they are. But maybe the follow-up presentations give some more insights on that as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Bernd. And like you said, you do have some slides on this, and we will allow for a little bit more discussion towards the end. So I do see participants that want to actually chime in, but I would like to go through the agenda and then allow a little bit more discussion. But this is obviously a topic that is quite interesting for everyone. And Elvis, to your point, there are a few exchanges in the region, and maybe we can emphasize on that. But yes, Lebanon has one, Turkey has one, UAE has one. I think most of the countries in the region have one. But at this point, speaking of Lebanon, I would like to hand over to Mr. Ahmed Faidia, the chairman and director of Ujiro Lebanon, to tell us some of the experiences that you're seeing in Lebanon and what's happening these days. I'm sure a lot of people want to know about the situation on the ground, but also the great efforts that Ujiro is doing to make sure the country stays connected and online and people can still resume some kind of normal lifestyle. So please, Mr. Ahmed. You're muted. We still don't hear you. Sorry.
Apologies. Hello to everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this discussion. Actually, as you said, we are trying to keep some kind of a normal connectivity between Lebanon and the rest of the world. I'm sure that everyone is hearing the news. Everyone knows exactly what we're going through. Ujiro is the incumbent in providing fixed telephony as well as broadband. Our major challenge today is keeping Lebanon in connection with the rest of the world, which is a tremendous task. under the circumstances. Uaex is confronted with a situation that it has to replace the national electricity company by self-providing itself and its equipment with power in order to keep the telecommunication up and running, as well as internet for everyone. It has not been always the case. I started personally 4 years ago, building and consolidating the infrastructure based, be it on the technology level as well as the last mile level. And we have been able to accomplish few things. We initiated the replacement of the old copper with the fiber to the home infrastructure. And the issues started back in October 2019, where most of our projects came to a halt. First of all, due to the civil strife that started in October 2019, then followed by the COVID and the deterioration of the foreign currency and the economic situation overall. Having said that, we're still being able to maintain connectivity for everyone. So far, we faced the issues of diesel procurement. Unfortunately, we are unable to have access to foreign currency in order to procure spare parts, accessories, and basic elements in order to continue with the fiber deployment, which is going very slowly. By the end of this year, we would have accomplished 30% of home passes, total home passes, to be connected in Lebanon, which is, despite everything else, it's a major milestone that the team of Uaex has accomplished with the contractors. So, in a nutshell, we don't have the luxury of talking about drastic development, keeping up with what is going up in the region in terms of technology, but you know, we have to learn as well to reprioritize our tasks in order to keep it reachable for everyone, especially that lots of Lebanese are working from home for companies, organizations outside Lebanon. So we have a huge burden in order to keep the whole segment up and running, and for the Lebanese people to carry on with their day-to-day life, be it studying online or working for an organization from home.
To that, Ahmed. And we have a question in chat here about solar power. Would that be an option instead of diesel generators?
The requirement of Uaex in terms of power amounts to 23 megawatt every single day, which is not easy. You know, we're running 303 exchanges distributed all over the country. So solar panel are not the ultimate solution everywhere. So we're working on a combination of renewable energy technologies, being it solar as well as you know, batteries. Unfortunately, the study has been completed, and the requirements in foreign currencies is quite a burden on the central bank in order to honor such a procurement. So we're calling upon the private sector in Lebanon as well as international organizations to help in the funding of this project that will, if you want, will ease the burden on the operation. But still, we are in the preamble of initiating this project all over Lebanon. But unfortunately, in large cities like Beirut, Tripoli, or Saida, we don't have enough space in order to deploy, you know, photovoltaic cells in order to generate enough power to sustain. Especially that we still have the legacy TDM telephonies that consumes a huge amount of power. IMS is being rolled out, but not quick enough in order to, you know, to be able to shift to alternative power solutions.
Yeah, and you mentioned like due to the circumstances that you guys cannot keep up with the latest technology. However, I know that yesterday after the chat that we had about RPKI and the other stuff, I know that you requested also a training for your team to be able to be capable for routing security. I know that you guys have efforts on V6. So I know despite the challenges, you and your team are still gearing up to be ready once you're capable of doing so, right?
It's not because we don't have money to spend on the technology that we don't need to be kept, up to speed with what is happening around the world. And this is what we're striving for doing today. And as I mentioned before, despite everything, the digitization process has been engaged in Lebanon, and Ojero has been leading this in the sense of creating a national cloud, national data center, whereby we're hosting the services of other administrations, pushing it a little bit further. So we're not wasting our time. It's not about only managing the crisis, but also to keep up the capabilities of the people and try to develop interesting ideas. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just trying to keep the momentum going. So whenever the situation gets better, we can be up to speed very quickly. That's our aim for the time being.
Yeah, and you mentioned. I'll get to you after in a second.
No, it's okay. Actually, I need to understand your experience. From your experience, how you feel that the AC power setup is, and how you understand the DC power will help you here. So, what is your coming out of this from this scenario? AC is helping you, or DC is helping you here?
I mean, you have to have, as I said before, you have to have a combination of both, depending on the of each exchange appetite for power and availability of be it spaces to host photovoltaic cells as well as batteries. So our engineers are working on it, and in both cases there is no solution fits all, and that's what we are dealing with now.
Maybe touching on something else that you mentioned with the challenges with the foreign currency, and you mentioned you are hosting a lot of the services. Are you seeing a shift in people hosting content more back home now, rather than hosting it out of the country, where now is more difficult for them to pay for these services? Are you seeing that happening?
I'm sure that you have heard the debate that was ongoing regarding hosting the data for the COVAX vaccination platform that was hosted. It used to be hosted outside Lebanon. Actually, following this debate, we offered our platform and we migrated the data to our data center, and it is managed today by the team of Ojero, the security team, as well as Ministry of Health. So it has been a boost because other administration followed through those steps, and now we are working on the project. As we are heading towards an election period in a couple of months, so we're working closely with the Ministry of Interior in order to enable the database and to enable enough space on our cloud in order to, probably it's not going to happen this year, but later on, the platform for a digital treatment of the database of electors and the process of doing the election might become something that is feasible in Lebanon. And this is very inspiring in terms of steps. A couple of months ago, this idea was not even subject to a debate in Lebanon.
No, fair enough. Final question here, and then maybe we can take more questions with you and more thoughts in the Q&A section. But there's a question about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Are you seeing an uptake in them in Lebanon due to the current financial situations?
But the issue is that we don't have a regulatory framework yet. The Central Bank of Lebanon did not acknowledge cryptocurrency as a means of payment, and there is a very serious lack of regulation around this topic. But having said that, this does not mean that we will never engage in this route in the near future. But obviously, the Parliament needs to work on the regulatory framework in order to establish. We all heard the story of a huge Ponzi scheme that happened in Lebanon, and more than $300 million was lost because of fake cryptocurrency platforms. So again, there are some legal work that needs to be done in order to regulate this market.
No, thank you for that, and I very much appreciate your thoughts. And I've also seen others in chat here thanking you and your team for the work that you're doing in Ojero. and I look forward for us to discuss a little bit more in the Q&A. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving to the next speaker here. Bernd, you guys saw him already. If you can turn on your camera. We already had some interesting thoughts on exchanging traffics and what we're seeing here. And you said you had a couple slides you wanted to show us. I'm very happy with the collaboration that we've had with you and Uaex, but I'll leave you to tell the story. So please.
Yeah, thank you, Hisham. Thanks, everyone. So my topic is showing a bit about measurement infrastructure, because measurement is the key to find answers on some of the questions which are already raised in the previous discussions. So I wanted to show some latest developments. But before jumping directly to the tools itself, it has the title of infrastructure at Uaex. So what is Uaex? That comes also back to the question of Elvis in the chat. So Uaex is an internet exchange point physically located in Dubai, owned by EITC, operated by DKIX. And it is just one out of many. So I'm very glad that we see this map of various internet exchanges, and they are doing a pretty a nice job. So some years ago, this map was quite empty. Now it's full of life and also traffic. So that's really good to see. So what else do we need to understand? So why peering? Peering improves latencies a lot. So as you can see, the two graphs, this is a real example of one network from UAE to one network to Kuwait. One is peered, one is not peered. I would say that the latency of 14, 15, 20 milliseconds works well for more or less each and every application, or let's say most applications, whereby 200 or 300 milliseconds will lead to a fail of also mostly everything. So it is important to focus on better latency. So this is what it is all about at the end. So why are we talking about tools? So yeah, very short. Tools help to find problems, solve problems, and improve everything. So that was the introductory part. So let's have a look on some real tools and developments. So first, of course, the from RIPE operated Atlas measurement system. So this is a huge measurement system, and I'm just talking about the more powerful anchor probes. So we see some move here as well. So you see the number of implemented anchor probes. With the anchor probes, you can do measurement inside these network and also from outside to inside. So in each direction, you can do ping, traceroute test, but also some application-based testing. It's really a fantastic tool for engineers, for the communities to test and find out something or look for problems. So you see, this is, yeah, still have some room for improvement. So the top, the leaders here in this map, you see Iran did a fantastic job of providing 17 anchors in Iran. Turkey, sorry to have missed this on the map on the top. So 8 anchors. UAE has also 8 anchors. Saudi Arabia 3, and the other listed countries have 1 each. So this is good to have at least a starting point, but if you compare the number of roughly 30 anchor probes in the region with the fact that in Germany we see 106 anchors only in Germany, so this shows that there is still some room for improvement. Yeah. The next tool, RIPE RIS. RIS is a routing collection of BGP route information collection tool. So I'm very happy that after many years of discussion to put a route collector also to Dubai, so you see it in a map. Before there was a big white nothing in between Europe and Singapore. So we have now the route collector 26 operated in Dubai. So thanks, RIPE, for making this possible, and also a big thanks to all involved other sponsors. So all these tools and good for the internet things often need sponsors. So much appreciated, and sorry for not naming each and every one here. So RIS is alive and waiting for your BGP sessions, so you can peer at the Uaex with the RIPE RIS system. Ideally, RIS is awaiting that you send a full table. There will not be any traffic in result. It is just about read a routing table and understand who is peering with who is using transit from whom, and also a lot of other functionalities come back to this analysis thing. Next one is route views. This was more or less happening at the same time as with the RIPE risk collector. So also based on a sponsor. Thanks also to route views to be happy to implement this in Dubai, whereby the RIPE RIS is having a lot of impacts for this StatRipe.net tool. Route views is fundament for a lot of other additional BGP tools, which you're most probably using day by day if you are on the engineering side. So that's also a big thing. Then another one is RIPE K-Route, also based on some sponsoring again. K-Route is not really a measurement tool, but a very important fundament of internet stuff. So maybe you've heard that there are 13 route DNS servers worldwide. So a few of them are running in Dubai at Uaex, but also in Fujairah. You see stuff in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia as well, Kuwait. So this is all very important anchor infrastructure for fundamental services. And the RIPE operated K-Route is now available on Uaex too. So you see the resulting traffic latency improvement of one of the Uaex peering customers. So it really dropped from 140 milliseconds by reaching the K-Route in Europe down to now 1 millisecond or partially even less than that. So this is solved, and you see also some other interesting measurement results because K-Route is also a nice target to measure. So from the measurement side, so some 2 quick slides from RIPE. So you see the countries and which K-Route instances are used from which location. So you see the orange color on top. So first country group, if you cannot read this well, is UAE, and you see most of the networks which operate RIPE Atlas probes. So this is where it all comes together. The RIPE Atlas probes immediately switched to the local K-Route, which is very good. The red one is also remarkable because this is Qatar. Qatar is operating its own K-Route system, and you see 100% of Qatar is using the Qatar-based K-Route. This is exactly how it should be. Excellent job done in Kuwait. As we see, Kuwait is also having a K-Route instance and using that in the majority locally, and yeah, other examples as shown here. What is a bit disturbing, so why we still have K-Route here from Sofia, from Amsterdam, from Belgrade, from Prague, from Frankfurt, from Karlsruhe, from Berlin. So from a European perspective, thanks for using the services in Europe. My advice would be, please use the local ones, and with the help of these measurement tools, you find out where it can be improved, so you can switch to the local ones. A second quick slide on the K-root turn-up. So you see here where the K-root did come into the game, and you see a K-root turned up. A lot of traffic moved to the local one via Uaex, and the losing K-root instances were the European ones, which is good because this is as it should be. So localize the traffic back to the region and use peering. Another super fantastic measurement visualization is also done from RIPE. The link, you see it on top. So this is a visualization of what the RIPE Atlas measurement probes are measuring. So you can very easily measure latencies. So this is one quick picture where you can compare the K-root reachability. So that's the example, the picture on the right side. You see some darker spots. So these were the not so good latencies on mid of October to the AS of the K-root system. And retesting this after K-root was turned up, we see that the color of the dots are moving to green. That's good. Iran, also to mention, that was always green because Iran has a lot of K-root servers itself in Iran. So this was good before and is still good afterwards. But some improvement has been achieved here in UAE, but also in the neighborhood, which is very nice to see, and which is a really valuable outcome from the measurement tool. Same measurement tool, and this is really a fantastic second functionality. You can enter a probe ID or an IX ID in the entry field, and you get these super nice graphs where it shows you the latency to neighboring systems. And that's just one example of a Dubai-based network. And you see everything which is reached locally in local round trip time is nicely graphed, and you can compare these super easy between the networks. One more tool, not to forget the country JEDI, also done by RIPE. So we see Uaex country JEDI on the right side. So here you can see which routes are using in-country connectivity or in-country IXP. These are the dark green spots. This is also available for Saudi Arabia. To compare with India, you see there is some room for improvement. So we still have a lack of anchor probes in the GCC countries or Middle East countries. So the picture of India looks far more advanced, much more networks, much more probes. So maybe we can speed up a bit by implementing more measurement stuff so that this also looks a bit more mature here. And last thing, that's the to-do list. If you are now convinced by going for that stuff, so some very important things. Please support the RIPE Atlas systems by requesting maybe one anchor per main ASN directly in the core. Please have a look at peering with the root DNS systems in the region. Use the collector systems from RIS and route views. Don't forget peering DB, and of course peer as much as you can. So that's it from my side.
Thank you very much for that, Brand. And actually, I like a lot of things in what you said. One of them is I'm sure my colleagues in research and development and the Atlas team are very happy with the use of the tools here and picking them up. But one of the things that I do like when you showed that graph about K-root, because for years we've been using my colleagues Renee data that you were sharing here that was showing how the different probes in the Middle East, which K-roots are they resolving in, and we were seeing things going all over the place. We're seeing stuff going to Djibouti, we're seeing a lot of them going to Europe, of course, but in some cases we're seeing them going to Australia and even to Japan, Tokyo in some places. So I'm very happy to see that shift happening. And I think this kind of goes back to one of the points that was being discussed earlier, I think by Shihab, which is a lot of people just end up sending to the defaults rather than looking into how can they actually do some traffic engineering. And I guess my question to you is, how difficult was it to work with the operators in getting all this stuff fixed? And how much of a timeline was it? And did it actually cost them anything to do the better thing here?
Yeah, I think traffic engineering is taking place more and more, so it is not that easy. We discuss things since more or less Uaex is existing, so roughly 10 years or so. I think in Europe it is quite simple because you have so many senior engineers in the networks which always did take care of this peering stuff, because peering was always there in Europe but not in Middle East. So maybe this is a not existing technology for so many years that this knowledge has not developed, so to say. But anyway, we see a lot of things are improving with the issue that, or with the chance that content comes into the region. It is now getting important, because as long as all your content was sitting in Europe, traffic engineering was not important, because you pull it from Europe and that's it. So there cannot be anything wrong. But if your master content is now locally in UAE or in Kuwait or in Qatar, then please take care that not well configured traffic engineering to your neighbor countries can go to Europe and back again. This means you double the latency compared to stream it directly out of Europe. So here the invitation goes to everyone to take care of tools and your peering with the neighbors.
Thanks for that so much. And I look forward to the Q&A section where we also get some more of your thoughts. So thanks for that, Brent. The next update that we have is from my colleague Natalie, and she'll be giving some insights into what's happening with routing security. And then we have Atif that will be joining afterwards that will give some experiences himself. So Natalie, please.
Yes, thank you, Hisham. I'm really excited to be here today. I miss seeing everyone. I wish I was in the Middle East. I think we all wish that. I'm here to give a little bit of an update on RPKI, or Resource Public Key Infrastructure. We all know that BGP is not a very forgiving protocol, and everybody who has access or works with BGP on a daily basis knows that a typo is really easy to make, and that the effects can be dramatic sometimes. To give an example, Facebook had quite an incident, BGP related, not so long ago. But with Facebook just harming themselves effectively, we also see that a lot of these routing incidents affect many others. So if you configure the wrong prefix to be announced, then you might steal it from somebody else by accident. We had around 3,000 to 4,000 of these events in the last year, most of them by far related to typos. Now, this is where RPKI comes into place. And RPKI consists of two different elements. The first one is to protect your IP addresses and routes by making statements about your routing intentions. And the second one is the validation of that information that others created and make routing decisions based on the intentions. So if we talk about the routing statements, which we call ROAS, we see really large differences in different countries in terms of adoption. Some countries have very high numbers of ROAS, so these routing intentions. For example, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Oman, and Yemen. They have basically stated their routing intentions for more than 90%, 90% of the IP addresses. And so they are protected by a ROA. Other countries, for example, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Jordan, they have very low numbers. Sometimes below 10% of the IP addresses that are protected by a ROA. So I'm very curious to learn from you later in the Q&A what causes these really big differences per country. If you're a member of RIPE NCC, we tried it to make it really easy to create those routing statements or ROAs. However, there are some pitfalls that can happen. And I'm really, really pleased to have Mr. Navid here from STC Bahrain. And he will share his experience with creating these ROAs, because there are some tips and tricks you have to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not done, almost.
It's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I will share.
If you want any help with creating those routing statements and you're not really sure what to do there, you are always welcome to drop an email to me or to rpki@ripe.net. I'll paste those email addresses in the chat in a minute. What we have seen is that in the last 2 years, many of the global providers have implemented RPKI for the validation side of things. So for example, Level 3, Telia, NTT, Tata, Cogent, which are also used in the Middle East. But many local providers and incumbents are not implementing RPKI validation. So there is, for these providers who create these ROA statements, they are helped by the global parties, but not necessarily by the local parties. And so that problematic typo that somebody made can have a greater effect if people don't do the validation part of things. So there's one other initiative that we started with a group of experts on routing security, is that we started a new Telegram channel, and that's called Routing Security Middle East. And that tries to bring together experts on routing security that offer help to others. Because we know that we learned that sharing knowledge and experience helps greatly in improving the situation. And yeah, so it's basically an Ask Anything channel there that we help with. And I see people joining the Telegram group as we speak, which is lovely. I hope to see all you there. That's the ploinking that you hear. I should have disabled that. I'm really sorry. But with that, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Navid. And I'm going to mute myself for now, and I'll see you back in the Q&A.
Before Navid, yeah. Natalie, maybe I want to ask you, in your role as Routing Security Program Manager at RIPE NCC, you've been doing a lot of this engagement virtually, again, over the past year and a half, I think, since we've had COVID, but also in person beforehand. And you mentioned some of these examples, but are you seeing people actually going and the uptake? I mean, especially you mentioned a few countries that have 90%. And I did see, like in many of these cases, you see after one engagement, boom, the numbers just go up, right? So it's not like they need to plan for this for a whole year and get the whole thing sorted out, right?
No, that's correct, Hisham. Thanks for bringing that up. We can see that the reason why people don't sign their routing intentions mostly is it's not about the money, because it's free. It's not about the time, because it is relatively easy to set it up. We provide in the Alia portal, we provide a simple screen, simple UI, where people can see what they are doing today on BGP. And if that is what they want, they can create matching ROAs with just 3 clicks on a button. So indeed, the engagement and the training, we see that helps tremendously. Every time we do a training course, we see the numbers go up. And yeah, we've seen that in for specific countries, for specific large telcos or ISPs. So if you want help with a training for your team or something, we can do that at RIPE NCC. We've got 1-hour webinars, hand-holding sessions, whatever. Just reach out to the team, to Shafiq, to Hisham, to me, and we'll get you started. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Natalie. And also, so handing over to Atif now. Atif was actually in one of the webinars that you were doing recently, right? And he shared his experiences, which is why we wanted to invite him to highlight his.
Yes, actually, I think here, Sandra, I think you need to mention the tools we are using for this one, you know. This one, I think this one is more important to get the people more confident of having this to be done. I think the tools are very mandatory because the RIPE tool was not giving you the live update, and it will take some time. And then we are using the multiple IR or reflector, or we are using the Cloudflares to be get the updated, and that tool also is, you know, give you sometimes not the correct information. So what my experience was is that I think from any operator has to be make sure that what BGP or IP block is going to be advertised, how it is distributed, like /21, /22 or /24, how they are going to advertise their in the BGP. So this is the main thing, and based on that, how they created their ROs in the RIPE portal as well, and then go for the exact RPKI they are going to the tool available in the RIPE. So from the beginning, my understanding, if you have decided /21, then you can see in the RPKI you can use the /21 till the range, maximum length range issue the people face. Otherwise, if you created if it is possible, create from the beginning /24 all of them, if it's possible for you. If not, you are using /21s and 22s. Based on that, I suggest to create the ROs for which will help you. But if you decided /21 and tomorrow you advertise something in between from the /24, for sure you will get an email that your IP is being spoofed. So I think this is the only misunderstanding actually people will get here, what they are advertising in the BGP view and what they are actually seeing as a RPKI is validating their routes. So the third is the second, I think, is the tool to validate immediately what you are doing with your prefixes. And anything question you can ask related, I can share more information on that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Atif. And you mentioned, so I'm curious because we also have had a chat about this before about like the time to make the decision to move to a technology, and then how much time does it take to actually get the technology?
Actually, I think it's I don't feel it's complicated at all. It's just a matter of, I think, you just your BGP part is done, your RIPE route objects are properly configured, and you know what AS you are going to use with them. And I think it's a couple of minutes job actually. It's not too much technical, or it's not very difficult actually. But you should be aware of that what you have done before, so you will get that. If you have configured something and you're creating a wrong object over there, for sure you will get an error message for that one. I think it's just a matter of understanding it. It's not time taking. It's not a time taking. Once you've done it, you leave it for the rest of the time. You are free to do other jobs.
Yep. No, perfect. I hope you join the Telegram channel. I see, as Natalie is saying, a lot of people are joining, and then people can benefit from your experience there and be able to ask more questions after that.
So it will be. I will join the Telegram channel.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And maybe what I can ask, if the other panelists can also maybe turn on their cameras. Now we're done with the interventions from the panelists, and now we want to hear questions from the floor and maybe have some discussion amongst the panelists as well. So if anybody has a question, please request the audio, and then you'll be able to turn on your camera or video and ask them, or you can put your questions in Q&A. we're more than happy to do that. And as I buy you some time to try to figure this out, maybe maybe picking on one of the topics that I felt was discussed a lot was basically traffic in the region and what are we seeing. I know if you talked about this a little bit, and you started talking about more of the exchanges and the localization. We've seen a big change over the past few years, right? Especially with stuff like gaming and new content coming in. What are your thoughts in this area? What do you think people should be thinking about more of moving forward?
So this to me question?
Well, if you have any thoughts on this, please. But I was asking mostly Bernd on this, so please.
Yeah.
Yeah, what what are my thoughts on this? So I think peering is, in general, it is important because peering gives a landing platform for digital investment. So for all those who want to deploy servers and data into the region. So peering or an IXP is a gravity center for that and drives a digital business hub. So this is good. What we see in Europe is a total open market and open mindset. So Europe is in very good relationship. Frankfurt, Amsterdam, London, they are all competitors, but cooperating a lot. So it is very simple and easy to go from one city to the other, to peer from Germany to Netherlands to UK. So in Middle East, this is maybe not that understood, or maybe not that usual. I think there are still some political questions maybe involved, whereby my message is internet is not interested in political borders. Internet is interested in low latency and the distance between content and the eyeballs. So I would like to invite everybody to make use of peering, not only Uaex, of course. Have a look at all the internet exchanges in the region. Don't think in countries or in ethnic group. Just think, please, in ASN, and have I reached all the needed ASN locally, and have I set the right traffic engineering measures to also use that? Because last comment on that, even if you peer locally, it does not mean that your router is using the local peering if you set a local pref or a metric wrong. So it also needs carrying measurement monitoring tools to really be sure that the traffic stays local.
Question from Ben. I'll give you the audio now, but I also have been told to remind people we do have the option of speaking in Arabic if you want, in the Arabic channel, so we get the simultaneous translation. But Nick and Ben, I'm handing over to you now.
So hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
So CDN, I'm the Director of Network Strategy for Limelight Networks. We've recently been building out into Middle East. We've recently deployed to Jeddah. We're currently building a new POP into DX1, which is going to be connecting to Uaex. However, one of our biggest challenges, and I think every other CDN is going to have the same problem when you're talking about localizing traffic, is cost. Whilst the cost of building a network node, building peering and everything else within the Middle East is still, on average, say, what, 10-fold what I would do in Europe, it makes it very, very difficult for us to build a POP that we can potentially earn profit from as serving a CDN. So obviously we get a per meg rate from our customers to serve their content, but if it costs me more than that to actually serve the content in region, then obviously I'm operating at a loss, and it makes no sense. So the challenge is always going to be RTT versus cost to actually build and host that. So that's one of the biggest challenges, and I think it's until we see more cooperation within the Middle East and crossing borders and the cost of actually fiber crossing borders and peering, that's still going to be a challenge for a lot of other major operators.
It's a very valid concern. I know it's one that we've been trying to address for years now at Menog. I must say I am seeing things getting better, but there's definitely still some of the bigger telecos here that are still operating with a teleco model rather than a internet exchange model. I'm happy to get other thoughts on this. I have intervention. I've been told from Dr. Ali. Please, Dr. Ali. Yeah, the floor is yours. Please go ahead. Not receiving audio from you, Dr. Ali. Sorry. I apologize. Maybe while that's being sorted out, there is a question. No, it's still not there. There's a question on manners from Sami Salah. He's asking from SEC Saudi. Do you think ISOC Manners Initiative will help in resolving BGP misconfiguration to improve routing security? I think that's to you, Natalie, and maybe Atif.
Yeah. Oh, if I'm talking, I hear an echo. Yes, the Manners Initiative is a great initiative. It's beyond just RPKI, so it involves a lot of other elements as well, which is really good. It's all about routing hygiene. If an operator implements all the steps that are listed in Manners, then it reduces greatly the risk of making such a typo, and or not making a typo. Everybody makes typos, but the typo causing a problem for your own network and for other networks. So that is, I think, the goal of Manners is to have a list of routing hygiene rules, and if you comply to those rules, take them on, then it reduces the risk of things spreading beyond your own network. Yes.
Natalie, thanks for that answer. Maybe checking with you again, Dr. Ali. Any luck with the audio? No, unfortunately, we're still not hearing you, Dr. Ali. Maybe I'll try to revoke your audio and give it back to you again. Maybe that would help. I'm hoping. Maybe. No, unfortunately, we're still not hearing you. I'll ask my colleagues to help. Dr. Ali has been a great asset for us and colleague in Iraq. He's been helping getting a lot of things moving on the ground there, whether from deploying the exchange point or getting IPv6 up and running. And I know that he wanted to announce something, so I'll leave it to him to announce that once he has the audio figured out. Are there more questions or interventions from the floor at this point? Any other questions? There was actually a question earlier from Joe Nigm from IDM in Lebanon. And the question is basically, in the crisis in Lebanon still exists, if the crisis in Lebanon still exists for the coming 2 years, how long can the service still continue to stay up? Are there any projections for that? Hopefully it doesn't stay that much, but I can understand why the question would be asked. Ahmed, please, any thoughts?
It's a matter of national existence. I mean, I cannot foresee the situation going on for a long period of time, and I cannot see that the service for any reason will interrupt in Lebanon. We will do whatever is needed in order to keep to keep the country connected and to keep the business momentum for the Lebanese people. So it's really a far-fetched question in the sense we cannot imagine a country running out of connectivity with the rest of the world, and we're doing our utmost to keep it that way.
Thank you for that, Ahmed. And I think we're trying to get Dr. Ali back again. I think the issue was that he was on the Arabic channel, so if he can switch back to the English channel and then speak, hopefully we can get his audio. Is this working now, hopefully? Dr. Ali?
Assalamu alaikum. تحية لك أستاذ هشام.
Hello, and I would like to address my salutations to Hisham.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Is a great partner, is Uaex NCC. They do a lot of things for Iraq, for the Middle East. Without you guys, we are not on the right track. I'm really appreciated. I'm really happy to work with you, and inshallah I work with you forever. First of all, I will take this time to announcement for Iraqi Menog for all the partners, the government, start from the Prime Minister office, Minister of the Communication, CMC, and all the partners from the private sector and the academy. We will work as a team for Iraqi Menog, and we like to join with you guys. And Iraq is part of you to make the right things. And you know about the IP version 6 and the other issue should be worked together to transfer it from you guys to Iraq. I really appreciate it, Hisham. I really thanks our brother Shafiq, Dr. Shafiq, and all the members of the RIDE. Thank you very much, and inshallah, I'm still invite you in Iraq as an Iraqi Menog, as a member of the Iraqi. And inshallah,
yeah. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ali. You were a great host when you were head of the CMC, the regulator in Iraq. You hosted us there. We had a great session, I think, with the different operators. And I'm very happy to see you continuing the work and pushing for things moving forward. And I do look forward to visiting you again very soon in Iraq. We are doing our roundtable for governments in Iraq this year. It's virtual, unfortunately, but I am looking forward to the face-to-face event there. And I do see a question. Let me check if it's for you or not. Okay. So this is a question from Amr Hashim. He's saying, do you see a role for political leadership to lead developing better interconnection Arab region rather than leaving it to the commercial insights? You served in all these different hats, so maybe you can give us some of your wisdom, Dr. Ali. Do you have thoughts, Dr. Ali, maybe from the regulatory sides?
You hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually, as you know, it's the regulator and the policymaker. They are like a wings for the bird. Without work together, we can't fly on the ICT. Honestly, now is our job and our work as a RIBE NCC for the future is to make everybody, for the stakeholders, for private sector, to move to the IP version 6. As you know, we've been in Dubai last week. We joined the meeting with our colleagues, is Dr. Shafiq, and all the private sector in Samina during the JETIX in Dubai. We have to put the roadmap for the moving all the IP version 6 to all the academy, the private sector. This is why we need your help. I make sure you're doing a lot of things for Iraq and the Middle East. We hope to take this action and with the map to move forward for the IP version 6, for the training, for the certification, and then move forward to another subject to make the right things for the ICT. I know you're doing very well, but I hope to make the Menog again in physically, not in online things. Please, we have to sit down. We need to share with our partners, our friends, our colleagues, for all the private sector, government, and the right, they do the good things. Regarding the round table, I'm already spoken with Dr. Shafiq to join the round table. As you know, I invited RIBE and the other country to do that in Iraq, and I hope to do it in not online. We hope everything will be okay. Thank you very much again, Mr. Hisham, and thanks to Dr. Shafiq and your team, please, about your effort to Iraq and to the world.
Thank you for that. I see a lot of people congratulating Iraq for the Menog, and a lot of people are very happy with it on the chat. So thank you for that, Dr. Ali. Thank you very much. And also thank you for reminding me of something that I should have mentioned myself or thought of, which is a certification. I know that you had a chat with Shafiq and that you're very interested in getting your staff and the technical forces within whether government or in the private sector as well in Iraq certified on stuff like IP version 6 and IP version 6 security. We've also been having some chats with other governments that are seeing a lot of interest in getting the public sector, but also the private sector certified in some of the things that the RIPE Academy has to offer and the workshops that we're doing. So we look forward very much to collaborating with you on this.
Thank you very much. Be safe.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. And maybe to just kind of address Amr's question again about the political side. Maybe Bernd, if you have some thoughts on role of regulation in the region here in terms of interconnection. Do you really see need for regulators to get involved, and if so, in what capacity? And maybe Shihab, if he's still here as well. But yeah, please, Bernd. I'm not hearing you though.
Sorry, double mute. Sorry, cannot comment on that. Anyone else, please?
Sure, no problem. Anyone else want to address that? I know Bernd does more on the technical side than maybe on the regulatory side of things. Dr. Ahmad, maybe you would have some thoughts? No. I guess there are no takers on this. So I guess I'll just have to be the one that addresses this. We have been working a lot with regulators for the past few years and with the operators and trying to understand what it is. And I think I kind of touched on this while I was speaking earlier and saying there are big telecoms that are still very much operating in the telecom mentality, as in they want everybody to be their customer and they do not want to pay for any services. They still consider themselves big enough to be able to have everybody as their customer. Unfortunately, that's not the way that the internet is built, nor is the way that the internet is designed. And that's still causing some issues. When it comes to regulation, there is still room for doing a lot more when it comes to cross-border, but I think that if private sector, and this is what I've seen over the past few years, because I haven't seen any major change in regulation. I have seen change in the mindset of the operators because of stuff like gaming and because of stuff like streaming and such, where they then started doing the right thing of interconnecting and peering and building to the border without necessarily waiting for a huge change in the regulatory framework. So while I do see that there is some reform when it comes to regulation, I do think that the easier wins, the more immediate wins in this space can actually be done by the ISPs and the telecoms in this part of the world actually doing the right thing and figuring out that them collaborating together and exchanging their traffic locally is much more beneficial for them on the short and also on the long term than it is to just trample on their traffic around the world. I think the point that Shihab wanted to make, unfortunately, he didn't stay for the Q&A section. I think the point that he wanted to make was also diversifying on paths. I don't think he was actually advocating of going towards east instead of going west. I think what he was talking about is going both east and west when it makes sense. And I think that's also a mentality that we are beginning to see in the region that we definitely didn't see before. Everything was building towards the west, regardless of where the content was, where the eyeballs was, where anything actually really was. And the examples that Brian gave and others are really talking about people beginning to as content is coming in, people really beginning to try to harmonize and optimize their routing so that they can actually reach it faster and better because of the latency sensitivity of a lot of the applications that we're seeing here now. From the political side, there is a little bit of a drive just because of stuff like Internet of Things and smart cities. It's a big buzzword in this part of the world. You cannot sit with a high-level official without them using those words, but it is making its way down the stack all the way to actually getting things done the right way so that they can actually build on top of that. Because living in Dubai, I can give this example. You cannot build a skyscraper without having decent plumbing. Nobody would live in that skyscraper. And that's what a lot of them are beginning to realize now and trying to remove some of these obstacles. So to Ben's point, yes, there's still a big monetary issue in getting, especially going cross-border from one country to another. The last golden mile is still a big issue. I know some have been working on it. I don't think the answer is only with regulation. I actually believe it's more with the telcos actually embracing this a little bit more. But these were my thoughts, and I see no more questions. Oh, Bernd, please go.
A quick comment from the traffic engineering side on your east-west thinking. One famous mistake, which I also see regularly, is that operators connect one tier 1 on the east side and another one on the west side. So just to name a random example, if you connect Telecom Italia Sparkle on just at Singapore and level 3 at Europe, for example, this quickly can go wrong because then you create a loop east-west. So from the traffic engineering side, please take care. And what we still have not achieved, Middle East or GCC is not a tier hub, a tier 1 master hub. So you get tier 1s either in Europe or in Singapore, but not anywhere in the region. So this is still not achieved yet. And as long as we have this situation, please take care to especially connect east and west in a pairing and not a single one here and single one there. That goes quickly wrong.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we're seeing with the telecom mentality, just building out cables in that direction. So thank you for that, and we are down to our final last 2 minutes. I would like to thank you all for joining for Menog 21. Hopefully, COVID will be kinder to us next year, and we will be able to meet in person. We are planning on doing a face-to-face meeting in Bahrain in Q4, as originally planned for last year. Hopefully, we actually get to do this and we get to see you in person. But until then, stay safe, and please contact us with any questions, follow-ups, any of the speakers that you want to get in contact with. We're more than happy to support you and provide you with every insight that we can. And with that, I'd like to thank you all and see you all online. Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Go to the settings.